kind enough to join in at a very busy day because I'm sure the Buccaneers are having their day after end of season press conferences all day today and media availability. Joining us from the Tampa Bay Times, our friend Rick Stroud back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Rick?
Doing good, Rich. I missed the first 2 hours, but it looks like I'm going to have a lot of time to catch up on the Rich Eisen Show. Waiting for Tom Brady news.
What do you think? What was your interpretation of the press conference yesterday, Rick, last night?
Yeah, you know, the last question or the last response he had was sort of it can be interpreted a lot of different ways, right? I mean, he has told a lot of people that he truly is undecided about what's going to happen with his career, where he would go if he will play, all those things. And yet, I think he understood, too, that this may be the last time he's in front of us. And, the one thing about Tom is, we've talked about this, for a guy that's an international superstar in terms of an athlete and celebrity quarterback and all that, he's really done a nice job. He has a lot of humility. And I think he did want to convey that, so far the time he has spent, look, he retired a year ago and he came back, so who the hell knows, but that he has enjoyed, his time in Tampa. But it felt the whole day, Rich, at the end of the game, I think the thing that struck me, maybe more so than what he said on the podium, was, we were down there when the game ended, and I've never seen his mom and dad kind of go on to the, not the playing service or the field, but just, outside the tunnel there as he was coming off on the turf side. And, he stopped and gave them a hug and a kiss, and I've never seen him out there before. And then on their way out of the stadium, his mom was choking back tears, and it struck me as, do they know, that maybe that's the last game he plays? So there's just all this sort of mystery going on, and legitimately, it's going to be a daily watch, right, to see if and when Tom makes a decision. And I don't think it'll be for some time. I think the mistake he knows he made a year ago was rushing it and coming out. Actually, the news came out before he was ready, but announcing on February 1st that he was retiring. And that won't happen this time. And I'm sure you have plenty of questions about, well, if he plays where, and we can get to that. But it felt to me like if it wasn't goodbye, it was so long for now. It just didn't sit right.
Well, just the way that the season went in Tampa, you get the sense, Rick, that his time in Tampa's through, that it's run its course. It was in a remarkable first season, obviously. And then last season wound up finishing shy of what they had all hoped. And then this year was born out of who knows what, right? With a change in coaching as well, where Arians steps away, and that could be a 30 for 30 in itself. What happened between February 1st and then the time where Brady decided to return and Arians decided to retire. But I just get the sense that, with the play calling as it was, and the running game wasn't there, and the protection up front, clearly, injuries had something to do with it. It just was off. It was off all year. When I saw in Munich, that was as good as it got, maybe all year, that game in Germany. And I just get the sense that might be a farewell to Tampa, to me, Rick.
Well, it could be, and you can interpret it that way, I suppose. I would say this, and you make a good point almost from the beginning. And look, you can't divorce yourself, and I use that term coincidentally, from the personal problems he underwent. This is a guy who came to camp, and 2 days into camp, he finds out or is informed or it's confirmed to him that he's getting a divorce. And then he leaves camp for 10 days, and even the most prepared quarterback in the world doesn't prepare that way, right? And so now we saw the emotional strain. We saw the weight loss. We saw the 3-5 start and him at his locker for 25 minutes after the Ravens game the next day the divorce was final. Those are real things, right? Those are real, complex issues he's dealing with emotionally. And while the team, second day of training camp loses his starting center, so many things are happening around him. This was never a football team that really had the stability in terms of its offensive line and other key places. They lose Shaq Barrett, that was going to really be a Super Bowl contender. Everybody says that if you have Tom Brady, you just assume that's the case. but it was never the case. And then, without a running game, he goes out and he throws it 600 and, or 30 something or 730 something times. He eclipses last year's mark. So all of that kind of piled up on him. And I talked to Clyde Christensen the other day, and he said, playing quarterback in this league is hard for anybody, right? It's one of the hardest jobs you could do. He goes, but imagine, you're running a marathon, and every couple of miles somebody puts another weight belt on you. And then they put, some lead shoes. And then they put on, and he said, he was carrying all these different layers of weight throughout the season, and he kind of dragged them into the playoffs, with the 4 or 5 fourth quarter comebacks. It was a heavy lift for him at age 45 with all that's going on. I don't think he blames the Bucs for any of this. In fact, and this might surprise you, until yesterday, and I still don't really know anything, but I think, there's a lot of guys in this building, and even people that are close to Tom outside of this building, that say, listen, don't underestimate his relationship with the Glazer family, his gratitude towards them, everything they have given him, anything he has wanted, the front office and their response to him, living in Florida. He has made it work, not living full-time with his 3 children for an entire season by living here. Davis Islands has an executive airport 2 blocks away from his house. His kids fly in, he picks them up. It's worked, and he loves his teammates. And so to think you're going to go somewhere else out west, for 1 year, he's year to year now, learn a whole new system, a new place to live, new coaches. It doesn't seem as likely in some regards as just, hey, let's fix this. Let's try to fix this. We need offensive linemen. What can we do to get better? How can I be better? All of that. Maybe we won't have the year of injuries that we had. So I was, kind of being led to believe that, but don't discount Tampa Bay simply because of where he's at in his life and football. And so we'll see if he does play first, and then he's going to have a lot of opportunities. We know that. But there's a lot of personal reasons that this works for him. It didn't work this season, and we've kind of talked about that, but it still could work.
Excellent points there, Rick, and one of the many reasons why I have you on, and just to, I guess, put this in a wrap this up, and before moving on to a couple other items here, maybe that's how you can interpret what he said at the end of the press conference last night to you and the rest of the local reporters, to give him the space that he wanted throughout this entire season. There's a lot of personal stuff that could have gotten out, rumors, conjecture, and all of that. Yeah. And maybe he's genuinely expressing gratitude for giving him that space. It's entirely possible.
It's possible because, again, I've had one of the few one-on-ones with him. I just say this: he's very present. He's genuine, and I do think he's caring about a lot of things. And it was tough. And, everybody knew a lot of things, but, there's a difference between, gossip magazines and journalism, and there was no filings. There was no spokespeople talking about it. So you had to respect the fact that children were involved in all that. So maybe that was it. There's a lot of different interpretations, or maybe he simply doesn't know. And he says, hey, if 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now, I decide I'm never playing again, or I'm playing someplace else, here's my opportunity right now. I've got cameras on me right now before I end this season and maybe my career, or maybe my career in Tampa. Let me get this out and thank people, because he genuinely feels that way. So there's a lot of reasons. We'll find out. The people I've talked to sort of indicated he truly doesn't know, and that the one mistake he's not going to make is rushing through a decision.
Rick Stroud, Tampa Bay Times, here on the Rich Eisen Show. So the tombstone for the 2022 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what's the epitaph? This team was 8-10. Why? What do you got for me?
They weren't good enough. They just simply were never good enough. And, every NFL season, there's never one thing, right? You have to be a little lucky in this league, Rich. The year they won the Super Bowl, COVID, right? Bruce Arians kept everybody in the building, kept everybody healthy. There was no vaccines. They were the healthiest team in the NFL when they got to the Super Bowl. The guys were close. They didn't leave the facility. Everybody, of course, was bought in, to Tom and what they could do. And it just, certain things happen. I think when you look at the construction of this team this year, you lose an Ali Marpet who retires at 28 in the offseason. Okay, it starts there. 28 years old. They weren't prepared for that. You lose Alex Kappa, the other guard who goes to Cincinnati. Second day of camp, Ryan Jensen goes down for this season. No Gronkowski. I mean, we're not talking about what Rob Gronkowski means to Tom Brady all these years, especially as a blocker. But more than that, how about a confidant? How about the yin to his yang? And Rob's never had a bad day. And oh, by the way, at Thanksgiving, he called these guys and said, "I'm bored. I want to come back. Let's talk about this." And they did. And they were going to put him on the practice squad. And he was like, "Practice squad?" They're like, "Okay, we'll put you on the regular roster. Give yourself a couple weeks." And they thought about it and couldn't pull the trigger.
This year?
So
that happened this year?
That happened Thanksgiving, yeah.
This year?
This year, yes.
Wow.
I wrote about it, man. You gotta read me every day, Rich.
Sorry, Rick.
No.
I'm a 53-year-old with a lot of ish going on, So
you got a few things going on.
Yeah.
No, but it happened this year. And furthermore, he told them, "Hey, next season, I might just do it the right way. Just come back and play the whole season." So, these are the things that I think affected him. In addition to the injuries along the way, you had, Chris Godwin coming off an ACL and an MCL, and he goes out the first week, and no one can believe he plays, and then he pulls his hamstring. You've got Donovan Smith, hyperextends his elbow the first week. You got Tristan Wirfs missing 3 games. They just couldn't build any momentum, and you have to have momentum in this league. Games have momentum and seasons have momentum, and they could never get it. They could never retain it. Even when they went to Germany and you were there, they played their best game, bye week. It's like, okay, natural break here. So they just couldn't make it work this season, along with all the problems we just talked about that Tom was going through, which has to have an effect on you. So new coach, new approaches to things just didn't work. And the question is going forward is, can they make it work?
Well, in terms of going forward, Rick, so what's the timeline? I guess Brady would have to let them know right around the time where he decided to come back last year, right on the eve of the new league year. So anybody that might leave might stick around. And then if not, is plan B Kyle Trask? Is he ready? Like, what's the scoop on that?
Yeah, well, he's definitely not ready because he hasn't taken but about 9 throws in his career. He got in a game for the first time in Atlanta and hit 33%. So nobody knows what Kyle Trask is. He's worked his butt off. That's great, but you haven't seen him in a game. Blaine Gabbert's a free agent, greatest 33-year-old quarterback no one has seen for about 5 years. So there's a lot of unknowns with respect to the quarterback position, and that's why if the Bucs were going to go the free agent route or make a trade, Tom could do them a favor by at least telling them that he's not in it for here. And I don't know that he'll do that. I think he could even wait, Rich, until free agency plays out and see which team is built the best for his needs and what suits him. Listen, if you were just going to paint a perfect scenario as far as his life goes, Miami still makes the most sense, right? Because that's where his family is. That's where his children are, his ex-wife. They've got a great team with a bunch of fast receivers that he can get the ball out quick to, and a good defense, and it's on and on. If you're talking about the Raiders, I mean, you want to play against Patrick Mahomes twice a year? You want to play against that quarterback with the Chargers? I mean, I don't know if you're going to make the playoffs. I know in the NFC South you could. So he's going to take his time. I think it would be, right around free agency or maybe even after that shortly. But these guys are going to want to know. But they, as they said last year, man, they're going to leave the light on for him.
I bet. Rick Stroud, thanks for the time. Always appreciate it. Will you be at the Combine or down the road?
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope to see you there, Rick.
Yeah, let's.
Absolutely.
That one's on me. All right, let's do it.
All right, brother.
Thanks, Rick Stroud.
Sounds great.
Right back
Thanks.
at you, Rick Stroud. Always a great chat. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.